Your identity is owned by wherever you're going, and you don't own those things. It's information again. So you don't have a place. You're not an actual person, and you don't have things. So what do you have? You have this disconnect between your physical life and your digital life. And in some ways, that's good. We have this kind of this fake social media in a way that's kind of torn us apart because it isn't really connecting to people. It's like eating a 0-calorie diet and then wondering why you're so skinny. That kind of friendship that is made on these social networks is not true friendship. It's creating a mass disconnection and a lot of depression. I think we have an opportunity now, as we move to Web3, to a different intersection of our digital and physical lives. So we call that Web3. A lot of us call it Web3 because it moves to a new decentralized model. It starts to encompass a number of exponential technologies that are now converging. And it gives us an opportunity to add people, places, and things to the web. That's the way I think about it. There's a lot of complexity to it, a lot of that people use, and people don't understand it. It's like, well, what does this decentralization mean? Why do I need a blockchain? What is DeFi? None of that matters to me. What matters to me is the essential elements of the real world now coming together with the digital world. That means we're bringing the human back into the system. It's where we started. It gives us an opportunity to connect with one another. The most important aspect of human life is connections to other humans, the strength of those connections, the way they nourish us. It's the ability to actually own something and participate in communities in the way that we do in the real world, but now without the boundaries of physical space. It's my belief that this notion of the metaverse that we're seeing today kind of give rise because of how Facebook changed their name to Meta, and there's kind of a frenzy around the next great thing, is actually going to settle down, just like that hype curve on NFTs, where people are going to recognize it's kind of useless if you don't bring all these elements together and humanize it and focus it on something that actually brings utility to people's lives, brings purpose to people's lives, brings an opportunity to connect people towards outcomes. So what we've been doing is a long journey. So 2015, I was sitting in my bar. I will welcome all of you who are ever in Santa Monica to come by my bar. It's called Harvell's. It's on 4th Street between Broadway and Santa Monica. 7 nights a week, good music. Come sit on the bar. You'll see where NFTs were born. And I was recognizing the mind-boggling complexity in 2015, early 2015, of what we were doing with blockchains. Thinking about what it was going to mean to remove intermediaries and change the nature of how society would work. Well, society doesn't want to change that fast. There's entrenched interests, there's laws, there's all sorts of things that make things move slowly. And it occurred to me, like, if we really wanted to move on this thing, what if we could distinguish Bitcoins from one another? Bitcoins are actually boring. You've never seen a Bitcoin. If you poke it, it doesn't say ouch. There's no excitement around what it can do. It doesn't do anything. One Bitcoin's like any other. That's what we call them, fungible. But what if you could have a beer? So sitting at that bar in Harvell's, we thought, what if we could take a beer and I could put it on the table and I wouldn't have it anymore? And you could see it in augmented reality. Someone else could pick it up, give it to the bartender, and get a real beer. What if you put it on the table and it would get warm? What if the Lakers got over 100 points and it would burst into a taco? What would happen if that beer could communicate on the internet and know who had it? And by giving it to somebody, I'm creating a human connection between them. What if it became a conduit for communication? What if it became a ticket? What if it became a new way to verify ownership and to give access and to confer abilities? Well, once you move from beer to ticket to coupon to state-changing, network-aware instrument, your head will explode and you'll recognize that we're entering a new era. We're entering an era where the NFT wallet will be the most powerful human communication tool in the history of the internet, since the dawn of the internet. Because when you give something to someone, they are someone. Now they have an identity. And if they opt into that communication channel, you can now talk to them. If you talk to somebody directly, you don't have to ask Mark Zuckerberg for permission. You don't have to ask Google for permission. You don't have to ask Walmart for permission if you have a consumer good. You have a direct communication channel to an individual who ethically and legally has opted in to have a direct communication channel with you. That's the holy grail of just about any sector you can imagine where communication matters, which, as far as I've checked, is just about everyone. So we set out on our journey. We set out on our journey in 2015 to first declare that non-fungible tokens that could be programmable, change state, and were network aware would be the next generation of human engagement. We forecast that the first wave of introducing these into the world would be about gambling, because it normally is. It's not about pornography, it's normally about gambling. So get-rich-quick schemes come in, everybody buys low, sell high, and hopefully you're lucky enough not to be holding the bag. So that's the first wave, right? And that's fine. That's not gonna go away. The better projects will rise, people will come up with interesting ways to go about speculating on these things. But that's 5% of what's gonna be the NFT revolution. 95% will be engagement, because it encompasses every aspect of society. Everyone on the planet is going to have an NFT wallet. They're gonna become a person. Your identity will be self-sovereign, owned by you, your data distributed as you like to whom you like. The objects you have, objects of engagement, will represent your likes, your interests, your communications with the various brands, creators, artists that you're now communicating with. And then the engagement modality of where you interact with your things, that's the metaverse. That will be augmented reality, an overlay on this plane of reality, and virtual spaces. Not necessarily with headsets. I think that's one way you'll enter. It'll be through phones, it'll be through glasses, through headsets, whatever it is. But we'll have a persistent meta plane to interact with these digital objects that will be no less real than the physical objects. That's what we called our company Vatom, Virtual Atom, because the concept of a virtual atom becoming no less real than an actual physical object is upon us. That's what a blockchain offers. Blockchain is really, to me, primarily valuable in putting forward an independent observer that gives you the psychology of ownership. Truth is, most people don't even know if it's real. In fact, it's normally not real. Normally it's a scam and they have some kind of central database that they claim is a blockchain. The concept is, though, is the psychology. Once you buy into the psychology that this thing has an independent observer, an independent reality, a way it authenticates itself independent of any institution, government, company, an entirely new set of technologies and principles and concepts now gets built on top of that. So this decentralized economy, starting with the notion of blockchain, then started with non-fungible tokens, then started with tokens that can be programmable and interactive and become conduits of communication, and then the means to bring people together to communicate through them, through this meta plane, this metaverse, is the next generation of the internet. So static pages, dynamic pages, e-commerce enabled pages, and now a social and ownership overlay on the net. Nobody will be unaffected, the same way that no one was unaffected by the first generation of the web. Every website will have a come inside button. Every person will have a wallet. And the objects will become conduits to communicate and bring together everyone on the planet. We're trying to build a platform that will enable all of you and everybody else to build whatever it is that they want in the world. The same way that you could click a button now, and with Shopify and all the complexity of making a store is under the hood, and you have this massively scalable opportunity. Same thing with our aspiration. Click a button, fire up your community, hand out your wallets, make your objects of engagement, your utility with them, create your metaverse environments where thousands of people will come together, interact with one another, build relationships, run into each other spontaneously. There's no other way to do that today with the internet. This is a profound shift. It's not hype. When pets.com didn't work in the early 2000s, everyone said it was hype. I was out evangelizing. Someday 40 million people were going to be on the internet. 40 million people, that's crazy. How could so many people be, why would they want to? It's so boring. When pets.com didn't work, people say, well, the internet didn't work. The crash right now, as Michael, I can put it, that's not a crash. Things will come up and down. The hype draws everybody in to throw everything they can against the wall. There'll be charlatans, there'll be frauds. But the substance of this evolutionary trend is now here to stay. And we're part of something very special, part of something bigger than all of us, and I'm proud to be part of that with you. So thank you for having me here today.